Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Tonight, let's dim the lights, perhaps grab a warm cup of whatever helps you unwind. We are going to float gently into a topic that often gets swept under the elaborate carpets of history. Tonight, we are talking about royal daughters. Specifically, we are delving into how ancient kings, those magnificent and often bizarre rulers, managed their problem royal daughters. You know, the ones who didn't quite fit the meticulously designed mold of dynastic politics and propaganda. It's a tale filled with peculiar arrangements, forgotten figures, and more than a few tragic footnotes. These aren't the daughters who seamlessly married off to forge convenient alliances. Oh no. These are the princesses who caused a royal headache. Perhaps they were too strong-willed. Maybe they were deemed infertile. Or maybe they simply existed at the wrong place and the wrong time in the grand, chaotic tapestry of succession. We are going to explore the often dark, sometimes surprisingly pragmatic, and always deeply personal ways these royal problems were resolved. It's not always pretty. Sometimes it's downright uncomfortable. But it's always fascinating in that detached, slightly morbid historical way. Let's begin our gentle drift into the Nile Valley. Ancient Egypt, land of pharaohs, pyramids, and a whole lot of familial weirdness. The pharaohs, as you might recall, were considered living gods. This divine status came with some interesting implications for their family trees, especially when it came to their daughters. The concept of maintaining the purity of the royal bloodline was paramount. It was more than just a tradition. It was a religious imperative. The gods themselves practiced this. So, naturally, their earthly representatives should too. This led to a rather unique approach to royal marriages. Specifically, a lot of sibling and even father-daughter unions. Yes, you heard that right. It sounds a bit much to our modern sensibilities. But for them, it was just good religious policy. Imagine being a royal daughter in such a system. Your father, the living embodiment of Horus, has a problem. He needs a legitimate heir. And sometimes, the most legitimate way to get one was to marry within his own immediate family. His sister was a prime candidate. But sometimes, a daughter was even better, especially if she carried the highly coveted title of God's wife of a moon. This wasn't just a fancy title. It gave the woman immense religious and political power. It also made her a particularly attractive bride for Daddy Dearest. It solidified his divine connection. It also kept all that divine power neatly within the immediate family. Let's consider Hatshepsut. She was one of the most famous female pharaohs. Her story is a testament to what a determined royal daughter could achieve. But her initial status was that of a problem, or at least a potential one. Her father was Thutmose I. He had male heirs. But Hatshepsut was a daughter of great capability and charisma. She was not content to merely be married off. Her existence already complicated the clear line of succession. Her half-brother, Thutmose II, inherited the throne. She then married him. This was a fairly common arrangement to legitimize the new pharaoh. Their daughter was Nepheu. She was set to be the next god's wife of a moon. This title made her a very important piece on the royal chessboard. Hatshepsut, however, was not one to fade into the background. After Thutmose II died, his young son Thutmose III was heir. Hatshepsut became regent, but she soon took on the full titles of pharaoh herself. This was a truly unprecedented move. A woman ruling Egypt as king. It created an enormous dynastic problem. What about her daughter, Nepheu? Nepheu was suddenly a princess with a pharaoh mother and a deceased pharaoh father. She also held that powerful religious title. Her fate became intertwined with her mother's audacious reign. Hatshepsut, in her ambition, essentially became her own problem royal daughter. She disrupted centuries of tradition. Nepheu was a pawn in this grand game. There were suggestions she might marry Thutmose III. This would have provided further legitimacy. It would also have tied the two rival branches of the family together. But then Nepheu vanishes from the records. No grand marriage. No clear cause of death. Just a quiet disappearance. This was a common way for problem royal daughters to be dealt with. They were sometimes sidelined. They were sometimes married off to less significant figures. Or, they simply ceased to exist in the historical narrative. Her absence allowed Hatshepsut to solidify her own rule. It left Thutmose III without a politically inconvenient wife. It also left a lingering question mark over her fate. A very convenient solution, wouldn't you say? Moving slightly forward in time, let's consider Akhenaten. the famous heretic pharaoh. He tried to revolutionize Egyptian religion. He introduced a monotheistic cult of Aten. His principal wife was the legendary Nefertiti. They had 6 daughters. 6. No sons. This was a huge dynastic problem. Imagine the stress of an ancient king with 6 daughters and no male heir. The pressure was immense. The stability of the entire kingdom rested on male succession. Akhenaten's solution was, predictably, unconventional. He elevated his eldest daughter, Meritaten, to a position of extraordinary prominence. She appeared alongside her parents in many reliefs. She was depicted with royal regalia. She was even sometimes shown striking down enemies. This was usually a male pharaoh's prerogative. She also, and this is where it gets really strange, was potentially married to her own father. Yes, another father-daughter union. This wasn't just for show. There is evidence she bore him a child. This was done to secure the royal lineage. It was also an attempt to keep the Aten cult firmly in power. A desperate gamble for a king obsessed with divine purity. But it didn't really work out. Akhenaten's reign was turbulent. After his death, the Aten cult quickly collapsed. Meritaten's fate is shrouded in mystery. She likely married Smenkhare, a short-lived successor. But she quickly disappears from the historical record herself. Her child, if she indeed had one with Akhenaten, also vanished. This illustrates another common way problem royal daughters were handled. When their male protectors fell, they often fell with them. Their existence became inconvenient. Their stories were erased. Their influence disappeared as quickly as it appeared. A very quiet, very effective solution to a dynastic problem. Let's drift over to ancient Mesopotamia now. Specifically, the Assyrian Empire. These guys were fierce warriors. They were also meticulous record keepers. They had a slightly different approach to royal daughters. Assyrian kings, like all ancient monarchs, used their daughters for strategic alliances. Marriages were diplomatic tools. They cemented peace treaties. They secured borders. They also prevented wars. But what about the daughters who weren't needed for these grand purposes? Or worse, the ones who had physical ailments? Or the ones who simply rebelled against their predetermined fate? Consider the daughters of Esarhaddon. He was a powerful Assyrian king. He ruled in the 7th century BC. He had many children. His male heirs were carefully groomed for succession. But his daughters were assets. They were to be married off to vassal kings. This ensured loyalty. It brought stability to the empire. We have records of the dowries paid for them. We also know of the treaties they sealed. This shows their immense value as diplomatic tools. But Esarhaddon had a daughter, Seroredarat. She was likely a problem daughter in a different way. We know she was important. She was perhaps the king's favorite daughter. She was allowed more public visibility than most Assyrian princesses. She had her own seal. She even communicated directly with her father and brothers. This was unusual. It suggests a strong personality. It also hints at a deviation from the norm. She was not just a silent pawn. She was an active participant. Her problem came after her father's death. Her brother Ashurbanipal became king. He was a brilliant, often ruthless ruler. Seroredarat had been close to her father. She held a certain power through that connection. But with a new king, her position became precarious. She was a woman with influence. She was also a potential focal point for dissent. A sister who held too much sway could easily become a problem. Her fate was not a dramatic one. She wasn't exiled. She wasn't murdered. She was simply given a high religious office. She became a high priestess. This was a common way to neutralize powerful royal women. They were given prestigious, but ultimately non-political roles. Their power was ritualized. It was also safely removed from the levers of state power. It kept her within the royal sphere. It also ensured she wouldn't become a political rival. It was a subtle, yet effective, form of sidelining. She lived a life of honor, but her potential for political influence was neatly contained. This was a classic solution for a problem royal daughter. Give her a golden cage. Give her prestige without power. A quiet life was preferred. Let's now gently glide towards ancient Greece. A different culture. A different set of problems. Greek city-states were not unified empires like Egypt or Assyria. They were fiercely independent. Their politics were often brutal. Their mythology, as we know, is full of problematic royal daughters. But what about the real ones? The ones who weren't goddesses or tragic heroines? Consider Sparta, the ultimate warrior society. Spartan women, unlike women in other Greek city-states, enjoyed remarkable freedom. They were educated. They owned property. They participated in athletic competitions. This was all to produce strong, healthy children for the state. But even in Sparta, a royal daughter could become a problem, especially if she was not of robust health, or if she did not produce suitable heirs, or if her existence complicated the succession. King Leonidas, the hero of Thermopylae, had a daughter named Gorgo. She was not a problem in the conventional sense. She was actually quite remarkable. She was intelligent. She was politically savvy. She even offered her father advice. She later married her uncle, King Cleomenes I. She then married her half-brother, King Leonidas. Okay, so that's a bit unusual. But it was not uncommon for royal lines to intermarry. Her intelligence, however, could have been seen as a problem. A woman who speaks her mind in a male-dominated world is always a potential headache. Gorgo's influence, however, was generally positive. She was known for her wisdom. She was also known for her discretion. She advised her husband, King Leonidas. She successfully navigated the complex Spartan political landscape. Her problem was perhaps that she was too capable, too smart, too much of a force to be reckoned with. But unlike other societies, Sparta seemed to tolerate this. They even valued it. Her solution wasn't removal. It was integration. It was utilization. A rare outcome for a strong-willed royal daughter. A pleasant surprise, really. Now, let's take a slight detour to the Hellenistic period. After Alexander the Great's empire fragmented, his generals carved out their own kingdoms. These were often unstable. They were constantly at war. The Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt is a prime example. They were Macedonian Greeks ruling over an ancient Egyptian land. They adopted some Egyptian traditions. They also kept their own Greek ones. This led to some truly spectacular dynastic weirdness. Ptolemy II Philadelphus, for instance, had a sister named Arsinoe II. She was quite the woman. She was ambitious. She was also ruthless. Her first marriage was to Lysimachus, king of Thrace. She had sons with him, but after his death, she found herself in a precarious position. Her problem was that she was a powerful widow with legitimate claims through her children. She was a dynastic threat to anyone. She even plotted against her half-brother, Ptolemy Koronos. He eventually killed 2 of her sons. Not a great family reunion. Her marriage to her brother was a way to neutralize her potential as a rival. It brought her into the heart of power, but it also contained her. She was powerful, but she was powerful within her brother's reign, not independently. It was a brilliant move by Ptolemy II. It transformed a potential threat into a core pillar of his power. A very elegant solution to a very strong-willed royal woman. One might even say genius. Let's gently float further west, into the Roman Republic and then the Empire. Roman society was patriarchal. Daughters were under the legal control of their fathers. This was known as *patria potestas star. Even after marriage, a daughter remained under her father's legal authority, until he died. This meant Roman daughters were very much tools for their father's political advancement. A royal Roman daughter, like those in the Julio-Claudian dynasty, faced immense pressure. They were expected to be virtuous. They were also expected to be fertile. They were to produce heirs for the dynastic line. What happened when they failed? Or when they acted independently? That, my friends, was a serious problem. Julia the Elder was the daughter of Augustus. She was his only biological child. Augustus was the first Roman emperor. He was determined to establish a stable succession. Julia was central to this plan. She was intelligent. She was also well-educated. But she also had a reputation for independence. She enjoyed social life. She perhaps even had lovers. This was scandalous in Roman aristocratic circles, especially for the emperor's daughter. Augustus married her off repeatedly, first to her cousin Marcellus, then to Agrippa, Augustus's trusted general. After Agrippa's death, she married Tiberius, Augustus's stepson. Each marriage was for dynastic purposes. Each was a way to bind powerful men to Augustus's succession plans. But Julia kept having problems. Her first 2 husbands died. Her marriage to Tiberius was famously unhappy. She struggled to produce living heirs with Tiberius. Her private life also became a public scandal. This was a severe embarrassment to Augustus. He was trying to promote a return to traditional Roman values. His own daughter was undermining it. This made Julia a truly difficult problem daughter. She was tarnishing the imperial image. She was also failing in her primary duty to produce suitable heirs. Augustus, a man who prided himself on moral rectitude, couldn't ignore it. His solution was harsh. He exiled her to Pandateria, a tiny, barren island. He accused her of adultery and treason. This was an extreme measure. It effectively removed her from public life. It also sent a clear message. Even the emperor's daughter was not immune to punishment, especially if she became a dynastic embarrassment. Julia spent the rest of her life in exile. She was eventually allowed to move to Rhegium, but she never returned to Rome. She died shortly after Augustus. Her story is a poignant example of how a royal daughter, even one of immense privilege, could be brutally dealt with when she deviated from the expected path. Her independence was her downfall. Her scandal was her undoing. A very Roman, very pragmatic, and very tragic solution. Let's think about another Julio-Claudian problem daughter, Agrippina the Younger. She was the great-granddaughter of Augustus. She was also the mother of the infamous Emperor Nero. Agrippina was ambitious. She was also ruthless. She was determined to place her son on the throne. And she succeeded. She effectively ruled through Claudius, her uncle husband, and then through her young son Nero. Her problem was that she refused to be sidelined. She was not content to be a mere empress. She wanted actual power. She wanted to influence policy. She wanted to control the succession. This made her a huge problem for any emperor, even her own son. Nero, as he grew older, chafed under her influence. He saw her as a threat. He saw her as too domineering. He saw her as a constant reminder of his dependence. Nero's solution was rather extreme. He tried to have her killed multiple times. First, he attempted to drown her in a specially designed collapsible boat. When that failed, she swam to shore. Unbelievable. Then he sent assassins to her villa. She was finally murdered by Nero's agents. Her problem was too great. Her ambition was too fierce. Her desire for power was too unwavering. Nero, in his paranoia, saw no other way to secure his own authority. A very dramatic, very bloody, and very final solution. Not exactly subtle. Let's ease into the Byzantine Empire now. The Eastern Roman Empire. Constantinople was a city of intrigue. It was a place of dazzling wealth and brutal politics. Dynastic concerns were paramount. Royal daughters were still used for alliances, but they also had a tendency to get caught up in political factions. And sometimes, they even became empresses themselves. Take Zoe Porphyrogenitor, born in the purple. This means she was born in the special porphyry chamber of the palace. This designated her as a true imperial heir. She was the daughter of Emperor Constantine VIII. He had no sons. This made his daughters, Zoe and Theodora, incredibly important. They were the key to the succession, but they were also a huge problem. Who would they marry? Who would rule through them? Zoe, in her 50s, was forced to marry Romanos III. He was chosen as emperor. Romanos tried to sideline her. He neglected her. He even cut her allowance. This was a dangerous game to play with an imperial princess. Zoe was not one to be ignored. She had her own ambitions. She also had her own passions. She eventually conspired with her lover, Michael. Romanos was found dead in his bath. Michael was then proclaimed emperor, Michael IV. After Michael IV died, Zoe, now in her 60s, married again. This time to Constantine IX Monomachos. She was a woman who was constantly trying to secure her own power. She was a problem in the sense that she never stopped trying to rule, even in old age. She was also a problem because she had no children. The dynastic line through her was dead. Her younger sister, Theodora, was also childless. The direct Macedonian dynasty ended with them. Zoe's solution to her problematic existence was to keep marrying, to keep maneuvering, to keep trying to maintain her imperial status. She was never truly pushed out. She was always at the center of power. But her inability to produce heirs was the ultimate dynastic problem. It led to the end of a long and illustrious imperial line. Her active pursuit of power and her barrenness defined her reign. A very Byzantine solution, full of intrigue and marital complications. Let's now pivot to medieval Europe. Here, things were both similar and different. Kings still used their daughters as pawns in the game of diplomacy. Marriages were contracts. They were about land, power, and alliances. But the church also played a huge role. Royal daughters had fewer options for power if they were unmarried. Eleanor of Aquitaine, a truly remarkable figure. She was Duchess of Aquitaine in her own right. This made her incredibly wealthy. It also made her incredibly powerful. She was a prize catch. She married Louis VII of France. Their marriage was not a happy one. Eleanor was too independent. She was too spirited for the devout Louis. She failed to produce a male heir for him. This was a significant dynastic problem. Their marriage was eventually annulled. It was based on consanguinity. This was a convenient excuse. Eleanor was then free. She was still Duchess of Aquitaine. She was still a powerful woman. Her problem shifted. She was now an unattached, wealthy, and powerful woman. She was a prize for any ambitious noble. She was also a potential threat. Within weeks, she married Henry Plantagenet. He was Duke of Normandy. He was also Count of Anjou. He was soon to be King Henry II of England. This marriage created the vast Angevin Empire. It gave England control over huge swathes of France. Eleanor gave Henry many children. She bore him several sons. She fulfilled her dynastic duty. But her independent spirit remained. She was a strong queen. She was a political force. She was not content to be a mere consort. She became a problem for Henry. She sided with her sons. She encouraged their rebellions against their father. This was an unprecedented act. It threatened the stability of Henry's empire. Henry's solution was brutal. He imprisoned her. He kept her under house arrest for many years. She was a royal daughter whose power and will became too much for her husband. Her freedom was curtailed. Her political influence was suppressed. This was a common way to deal with strong royal women. Confinement was the answer. It removed her from the political chessboard. It also broke her connections with her rebellious sons. Eleanor was eventually released after Henry's death. Her story highlights the struggle for power. It shows the constraints placed on powerful women. Even queens could become problems. Even queens could be locked away. Let's move further north. Let's consider medieval Scotland. A rugged land. A fiercely independent kingdom. Succession was often contested. Royal daughters played a crucial role, but they could also become tragic figures. Consider Margaret, the Maid of Norway. She was the granddaughter of King Alexander III of Scotland. Alexander died unexpectedly. His only surviving heir was Margaret. She was a little girl. She was only 3 years old. She was the sole heir to the Scottish throne. This made her an immense problem. She was a child. She was a girl. She was an absentee monarch. She lived in Norway with her father. Her existence created a power vacuum. Scottish nobles fought for control. King Edward I of England saw an opportunity. He proposed a marriage. Margaret would marry his son, Edward of Carnarvon. This would unite the crowns of Scotland and England. It would bring peace to the two kingdoms. It was a tempting offer for the Scots. It promised an end to instability. Margaret set sail for Scotland in 1290. She was 7 years old. The journey was difficult. The weather was harsh. She became ill. She died on the Orkney Islands. Her death was a catastrophe. It plunged Scotland into a succession crisis. Her problem was not her will or her ambition. It was her very existence as a child queen. Her death, however, created a much larger problem. It led directly to the wars of Scottish independence. Her disappearance from the world stage was accidental, but it had profound consequences. A very young life. A very tragic end. A very accidental solution to a dynastic problem. Let's now pivot to the Tudor dynasty in England. Henry VIII is famous for his 6 wives. He is also famous for his relentless pursuit of a male heir. His daughters were initially seen as major problems. Mary Tudor was his first daughter. She was the child of Catherine of Aragon. Henry's desire for a son led him to divorce Catherine. He also broke with the Roman Catholic Church. This made Mary's status precarious. She was declared illegitimate. She was removed from the line of succession. This was a devastating blow. She was a royal daughter. She was a devout Catholic. She refused to acknowledge her parents' divorce. She refused to accept her illegitimacy. This made her a problem daughter. She was stubborn. She was defiant. She was a rallying point for Catholic opposition. She was also a constant reminder of Henry's controversial choices. Her solution was isolation. She was separated from her mother. She was forbidden to see her. She was forced to live in relative obscurity. Her household was reduced. She suffered emotional abuse. She was pressured to conform. Mary eventually signed a document. It acknowledged her father as head of the Church of England. It also accepted her illegitimacy. This was a forced concession. It was a temporary solution. She was later restored to the succession. She eventually became Queen Mary I. Her journey was difficult. It shaped her reign. Her early struggles defined her. Her experience as a problem daughter made her resilient. It also made her ruthless. A very English solution. A very personal struggle. Elizabeth Tudor was Henry's second daughter. She was the child of Anne Boleyn. And Boleyn's marriage to Henry was also annulled. Elizabeth, like Mary, was declared illegitimate. She was also removed from the succession. Her mother was executed. This created an even deeper problem for Elizabeth. She was the daughter of an executed traitor. She lived under a cloud of suspicion. She was intelligent. She was strong-willed. She was also cautious. Her early life was spent navigating dangers. She was an illegitimate princess. She was a potential focus for plots. She was a Protestant. This put her at odds with her Catholic half-sister Mary. Her problem was her very existence. She was a living symbol of religious and dynastic instability. Mary I imprisoned Elizabeth. She suspected her of treason. Elizabeth faced execution. She survived through careful diplomacy. She survived through her intelligence. She endured her imprisonment. She remained silent. She remained patient. She eventually ascended to the throne. She became Queen Elizabeth I. Her long and glorious reign changed England. Her early life as a problem daughter shaped her into a formidable monarch. Her solution was survival. It was resilience. It was ultimately triumph. A truly remarkable woman. A truly remarkable story. Let's now consider some later European examples. The grand dynastic marriages continued. But sometimes, a royal daughter just didn't fit the mold. Maria Antonia of Austria. She was the youngest daughter of Empress Maria Theresa. She was born into the Habsburg dynasty. Her destiny was marriage. Her purpose was alliance. She was educated for this role. She was trained to be a queen. She was sent to France. She married the Dauphin, Louis Auguste. He eventually became King Louis XVI. She became Marie Antoinette. Her problem was her personality. She was frivolous. She was extravagant. She was also foreign. She struggled to adapt to the strict etiquette of the French court. She spent lavishly. She gambled. She partied. She failed to produce an heir quickly. This was a major concern. The French monarchy needed a direct successor. She was a problem queen. She was out of touch with her people. She was out of touch with the changing times. Her solution was not confinement. It was not annulment. It was the French Revolution. The monarchy itself became the problem. Marie Antoinette, as a symbol of excess, became a central target. She was imprisoned. She was tried. She was executed. Her problem was not just personal. It was systemic. It was a clash of cultures. It was a clash of ideologies. Her story is one of the most famous tragedies. It's a stark reminder of the ultimate fate of royal problems. A very bloody solution. A very public end. Let's drift over to Russia. The Romanov dynasty. A vast, autocratic empire. Imperial daughters, grand duchesses, were brought up with immense privilege, but their lives were also strictly controlled. Grand Duchess Olga Nikolaevna. She was the eldest daughter of Tsar Nicholas II. She was part of a close-knit family. She was intelligent. She was compassionate. She was also a potential bride for a European prince. Her problem was the changing political landscape. Her family was increasingly isolated. The empire was under strain. She served as a nurse during World War I. This showed her strong character. This showed her devotion. Her problem became the revolution. The Romanov dynasty collapsed in 1917. Olga, along with her family, was imprisoned. They were moved from palace to palace. Their privilege vanished. Their future was uncertain. They were no longer imperial assets. They were no longer diplomatic pawns. They were simply targets. The ultimate solution for Olga and her family was execution. They were murdered in a cellar in Ekaterinburg. Their problem was their identity. They were Romanovs. They were symbols of the old regime. Their existence posed a threat to the new Bolshevik government. Their story is a harrowing end to centuries of imperial rule. A very brutal, very final solution. A tragic end to a family. Let's now consider more subtle forms of dealing with problem royal daughters. Not all solutions involved exile or execution. Sometimes, it was a slow, quiet fade into obscurity. Consider the daughters of Sultan Abdülhamid II of the Ottoman Empire. He was known as the Red Sultan. He ruled with an iron fist. He had many children. His daughters lived in the opulence of the Yildiz Palace. They received excellent education. They lived lives of luxury. But their world was changing. The Ottoman Empire was in decline. One of his daughters was Sultan. She was intelligent. She was cultured. She loved music. Her problem was the eventual collapse of the Ottoman Empire. The Sultanate was abolished in 1922. The Caliphate was abolished in 1924. The entire imperial family was exiled. They were stripped of their wealth. They were stripped of their titles. They were forced to leave their homeland. Sultan, along with her siblings, went into exile. She lived in Paris. She struggled financially. She missed her home. She wrote her memoirs. These were later published. They provide a poignant look into a lost world. Her problem was not her personal conduct. It was the grand historical forces at play. It was the end of an era. The solution was forced displacement. It was cultural dislocation. It was a slow, painful fading away. A very different kind of problem. A very different kind of solution. Let's reflect on these historical narratives. The specific solutions varied wildly. They ranged from strategic marriages to imprisonment. They included exile. They even included execution. But the underlying motivations remained consistent. Royal daughters were primarily tools. They were for dynastic stability. They were for political alliances. Any deviation from this role created a problem. Their individual personalities often clashed with their predetermined fates. Some were strong-willed. Some were ambitious. Some were simply unlucky. Their stories often highlight the stark contrast. It was between immense privilege and profound vulnerability. They were born into power, yet they often had little control over their own lives. The forgotten details of their lives speak volumes. The quiet disappearances. The sudden exiles. The subtle sidelining. These were not always recorded with grand pronouncements. They were often hinted at. They were often inferred. They were often erased from official histories. The historical narrative preferred convenient narratives. It preferred clear lines of succession. It preferred powerful male figures. The problem royal daughters, however, leave behind a different legacy. They show us the human cost of power. They show us the brutal realities of dynastic politics. They show us the resilience of the human spirit. They show us the tragic consequences of being born into the wrong place at the wrong time. Their silence is often more eloquent. Their absence is often more telling. Their forgotten stories are just as important. They fill in the gaps. They add color to the tapestry. They reveal the true complexity of history. This exploration has spanned millennia. It has crossed continents. It has revealed a recurring pattern. Royal daughters were rarely free agents. Their agency was often constrained. It was often outright denied. Their lives were dictated by the needs of the state. They were dictated by the ambitions of their fathers and brothers. Even when they achieved power, it was often precarious. It was often hard-won. It was often fleeting. Hatshepsut ruled as pharaoh, but her daughter vanished. Arsinoe too ruled with her brother, but she was contained. Eleanor of Aquitaine reigned as queen, but she was imprisoned. These women pushed boundaries. They challenged expectations. They often paid a price. The methods of control evolved over time. They evolved across cultures. In ancient Egypt, incestuous marriages were acceptable. They were religiously sanctioned. In medieval Europe, convents offered a path. They offered a safe haven. They offered a gilded cage. In the Roman Empire, exile was a favored tool. It removed political embarrassments. In revolutionary France, the guillotine awaited. It was the ultimate leveling force. The constant theme is containment. It is control. It is neutralization. The problem royal daughter was a threat. She was a threat to order. She was a threat to tradition. She was a threat to the established patriarchal hierarchy. Her power, whether inherited or self-made, had to be managed. It had to be redirected. It had to be eliminated. Let's not forget the emotional toll. Imagine being a young woman. Your life is not your own. Your body is not your own. Your future is predetermined. Your value is based on your fertility. Your purpose is political. Your personal happiness is secondary. It is often non-existent. The stories of Julia the Elder and Mary the First are particularly poignant. They were daughters of powerful emperors and kings. They lived lives of immense privilege. But they also lived lives of constant fear. They lived lives of emotional deprivation. Their problems stemmed from their father's ambitions. Their solutions were harsh and unforgiving. Even those who seemingly defied their fate, like Elizabeth I, bore the scars. Her caution, her unwillingness to marry, her pragmatic approach to rule. These were all products of her early struggles. They were products of her time as a problem daughter. She learned to survive. She learned to thrive. But it was a hard-won victory. The narrative often focuses on the powerful men. It focuses on the emperors and kings. But behind every throne, there were women. There were daughters. They shaped history in profound ways. Sometimes directly. Sometimes indirectly. Sometimes through their very absence. Their stories are not always glorified. They are not always celebrated. They are often relegated to footnotes. They are often shrouded in speculation. They are often deliberately forgotten. But their existence speaks volumes. It speaks to the human condition. It speaks to the universal struggle for autonomy. It speaks to the enduring power of history. The intricate web of dynastic politics continues. It continues to shape societies. It continues to define families. The pressures on royal women persist. Even in modern monarchies, expectations are immense. The scrutiny is constant. The roles are often predetermined. The legacy of these problem royal daughters remains. It's a testament to their quiet strength. It's a testament to their unexpected resilience. It's a testament to their enduring influence. Their stories remind us. History is not just about grand battles. It is not just about powerful leaders. It is also about the forgotten figures. It is about the individuals. It is about their struggles. It is about their silent triumphs. It is about their tragic ends. Our journey tonight has been a deep dive. It has explored the lesser-known corners of royal history. We have looked beyond the gilded facades. We have peered into the shadows. We have uncovered the human drama. This drama unfolded behind palace walls. This drama unfolded within royal families. It highlights the peculiar paradox. Royal daughters held immense status, yet they were often powerless. They were often vulnerable. The next time you read about a powerful king, the next time you see a grand monument, take a moment to think. Think about the daughters. Think about the women. Think about their untold stories. Think about their forgotten fates. They were more than just pawns. They were more than just problems. They were human beings. They were individuals. They were central to the story. They were central to history. So, as we bring our gentle drift to a close, let these stories resonate. Let them serve as a reminder. History is complex. It is nuanced. It is filled with voices. It is filled with experiences. Many of these voices are often silenced. Many of these experiences are often overlooked. But they are crucial. They are essential for a complete understanding. They are essential for a truly human history. Thank you for joining me tonight. I hope you found this exploration as captivating as I did. If you enjoyed this journey into the forgotten corners of history, please consider liking this video. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Please hit that notification bell. We have many more such stories to tell, many more secrets to uncover, many more mysteries to unravel. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, keep questioning everything. Goodbye, France. Their marriage was not a happy one. Eleanor was too independent. She was too spirited for the devout Louis. She failed to produce a male heir for him. This was a significant dynastic problem. Their marriage was eventually annulled. It was based on consanguinity. This was a convenient excuse. Eleanor was then free. She was still Duchess of Aquitaine. She was still a powerful woman. Her problem shifted. She was now an unattached, wealthy, and powerful woman. She was a prize for any ambitious noble. She was also a potential threat. Within weeks, she married Henry Plantagenet. He was Duke of Normandy. He was also Count of Anjou. He was soon to be King Henry II of England. This marriage created the vast Angevin Empire. It gave England control over huge swathes of France. Eleanor gave Henry many children. She bore him several sons. She fulfilled her dynastic duty, but her independent spirit remained. She was a strong queen. She was a political force. She was not content to be a mere consort. She became a problem for Henry. She sided with her sons. She encouraged their rebellions against their father. This was an unprecedented act. It threatened the stability of Henry's empire. Henry's solution was brutal. He imprisoned her. He kept her under house arrest for many years. She was a royal daughter whose power and will became too much for her husband. Her freedom was curtailed. Her political influence was suppressed. This was a common way to deal with strong royal women. Confinement was the answer. It removed her from the political chessboard. It also broke her connections with her rebellious sons. Eleanor was eventually released after Henry's death. Her story highlights the struggle for power. It shows the constraints placed on powerful women. Even queens could become problems. Even queens could be locked away. Let's move further north. Let's consider medieval Scotland. A rugged land. A fiercely independent kingdom. Succession was often contested. Royal daughters played a crucial role, but they could also become tragic figures. Consider Margaret, the Maid of Norway. She was the granddaughter of King Alexander III of Scotland. Alexander died unexpectedly. His only surviving heir was Margaret. She was a little girl. She was only 3 years old. She was the sole heir to the Scottish throne. This made her an immense problem. She was a child. She was a girl. She was an absentee monarch. She lived in Norway with her father. Her existence created a power vacuum. Scottish nobles fought for control. King Edward I of England saw an opportunity. He proposed a marriage. Margaret would marry his son, Edward of Carnarvon. This would unite the crowns of Scotland and England. It would bring peace to the two kingdoms. It was a tempting offer for the Scots. It promised an end to instability. Margaret set sail for Scotland in 1290. She was 7 years old. The journey was difficult. The weather was harsh. She became ill. She died on the Orkney Islands. Her death was a catastrophe. It plunged Scotland into a succession crisis. Her problem was not her will or her ambition. It was her vulnerability. It was her youth. Her death was tragic. It was also deeply impactful. Let's now consider some more examples from medieval Europe. The daughters of powerful rulers often faced unique challenges. Their lives were rarely their own. Consider Joanna of Navarre. She was the daughter of King Charles II of Navarre. He was known as Charles the Bad. She was a princess. She was raised with an awareness of political maneuvering. Her destiny was marriage. It was for alliance. She first married John IV, Duke of Brittany. This was a significant political match. It secured Brittany's allegiance. Her problem began after John's death. She was a young widow. She had several children. She was regent for her young son. This made her powerful. It also made her vulnerable. She needed a new protector. She needed a new alliance. She eventually caught the attention of Henry IV of England. He was a new king. He had recently deposed Richard II. He needed legitimacy. He needed international recognition. Joanna married Henry IV. She became Queen of England. This was a grand alliance. It brought stability. It also brought new challenges. She was a foreign queen. She struggled with language. She struggled with English customs. She brought her own children to England. This was unusual. It complicated court dynamics. She was seen as a potential problem. She was seen as an outsider. She was also seen as a financial burden. After Henry IV's death, her stepson, Henry V, became king. He was a formidable ruler. Joanna's position became even more precarious. She was a foreign dowager queen. She no longer had a direct political role. She was accused of witchcraft. This was a grave charge. It was likely politically motivated. It was a way to neutralize her. It was a way to seize her dower lands. Her solution was imprisonment. She was held at Pevensey Castle. She endured several years of confinement. She was stripped of her possessions. Her household was disbanded. This was a classic maneuver. It removed a potential threat. It also enriched the crown. She was eventually released. She lived out her days in quiet retirement. Her story shows the fragility of a queen's power. It shows the ruthlessness of medieval politics. It shows how easily a powerful woman could be sidelined. It was a calculated political move. Let's shift our gaze eastward. Let's consider the princesses of the Mughal Empire in India. This was a vast, wealthy empire. It was known for its artistry. It was known for its opulence. Mughal princesses lived in purdah. This meant strict seclusion. They were veiled. They were kept from public view. This was a cultural norm. It was also a form of protection. Jahanara Begum was the eldest child of Emperor Shah Jahan. He was the builder of the Taj Mahal. She was incredibly intelligent. She was highly educated. She was also very influential. Her mother, Mumtaz Mahal, died young. Jahanara became the first lady of the empire. She held immense power. She was the emperor's closest confidant. Her problem was her gender. She could not inherit the throne. She could not rule directly. She was also never married. This was unusual. Most royal daughters were married off. She chose to remain single. She devoted herself to her father. She devoted herself to the empire. This gave her extraordinary influence. It also meant she had no male heirs. She had no direct dynastic power. She supported her brother Dara Shikoh. He was the designated heir. But their other brother, Aurangzeb, rebelled. This led to a brutal war of succession. Jahanara tried to mediate. She failed. Aurangzeb seized the throne. He imprisoned their father, Shah Jahan. He also imprisoned Jahanara. She voluntarily joined her father in captivity. She nursed him during his final years. After her father's death, Aurangzeb reconciled with her. He restored her titles. He restored her influence. She again became the first lady. She advised her brother. She maintained a degree of independence. Her solution was quiet strength. It was unwavering loyalty to her family. It was a lifetime of influence without direct rule. She navigated a dangerous court. She survived a bloody succession. She left behind a legacy of charity. She left behind a legacy of public works. Her choice to remain unmarried was powerful. It defined her unique role. It was a very different kind of problem and solution. Let's now consider some daughters from later European monarchies. The rise of absolutism. The consolidation of power. Dynastic marriages remained crucial. But personal aspirations sometimes clashed. Princess Charlotte of Wales was the only legitimate child of King George IV. He was then Prince Regent. She was the granddaughter of King George III. She was destined to be queen. This made her incredibly important. She was intelligent. She was strong-willed. She was also very popular. The British public loved her. She represented hope for the future. Her problem was her parents. Her parents hated each other. Her mother, Caroline of Brunswick, was estranged. Her father, George, was cruel. He tried to control her. He tried to isolate her. He constantly interfered with her marriage plans. He saw her as a pawn. He saw her as a tool. She yearned for independence. She yearned for a happy home. She eventually married Prince Leopold of Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld. It was a love match. This was rare for royal marriages. They were deeply happy. She became pregnant. This was a moment of national joy. The future of the dynasty seemed secure. Her solution was to find personal happiness. It was to assert her own choices. It was to escape her dysfunctional family. But her story ended tragically. She had a difficult labor. She gave birth to a stillborn son. She died hours later. This was a devastating blow. It plunged the nation into mourning. It created a profound dynastic crisis. Her death was an accidental solution. It was an unforeseen consequence. It was a huge loss for the monarchy. It ultimately led to Victoria becoming queen. A very sad twist of fate. Let's think about Queen Victoria herself. She was the granddaughter of George III. She became queen because of Charlotte's death. She had many children. She had 9. Her daughters were meticulously managed. They were married off to European royalty. This was to strengthen British influence. It was to maintain peace. Princess Alice was Victoria's 3rd child. She was intelligent. She was compassionate. She was also independent-minded. She married Louis IV, Grand Duke of Hesse and by Rhine. This was a German state. She was a devoted wife. She was a devoted mother. She worked tirelessly for social causes. She introduced nursing to her region. Her problem was often health. Her family suffered from hemophilia. She was a carrier. Her son, Friedrich, died young from the disease. This was a profound personal tragedy. It also had dynastic implications. It spread the disease through royal lines. She also dedicated herself to nursing her family through illness. She nursed her father, Prince Albert, during his final illness. She nursed her children through diphtheria. Her solution was selfless devotion. It was public service. It was personal sacrifice. She died young, at 35, from diphtheria. She contracted it nursing her children. Her death was a tragic loss. It was a testament to her character. Her problem was the vulnerability of life itself. It was the burden of responsibility. It was a royal daughter who found her purpose in caring for others. It was a quiet triumph. It was a profound legacy. Let's consider some non-European contexts again. Let's look at the royal daughters of imperial China. Emperors ruled with absolute power. Their daughters, princesses, were vital for diplomacy. They were vital for maintaining imperial control. Princess Wencheng was a princess of the Tang dynasty. This was a powerful and cosmopolitan era. She was not a problem in the sense of being defiant. Her problem was her purpose. She was sent to Tibet. She was sent as a diplomatic bride. This was to solidify an alliance. This was to bring peace between the Tang Empire and the Tibetan Empire. It was a massive undertaking. She brought Chinese culture to Tibet. She brought agricultural techniques. She brought medicine. She brought Buddhism. She was revered in Tibet. She was seen as a bringer of civilization. She was a powerful cultural ambassador. Her marriage was a success. It forged strong ties. It facilitated cultural exchange. Her problem was her distance. She never returned to China. She lived her entire adult life in a foreign land. She was an exile. She was a bridge between two cultures. Her solution was adaptation. It was cultural assimilation. It was finding her place in a new world. She embraced her role. She became a beloved figure. She transcended her initial purpose. She became a symbol of peace. A very successful diplomatic problem. Let's now consider a different kind of challenge. What about daughters who chose a path outside marriage and politics? What about those who sought spiritual fulfillment? In many cultures, convents or monasteries offered an alternative. For royal daughters, this could be a solution. It provided a place of honor. It provided a life of purpose. It also removed them from the dynastic game. Consider Hildegard of Bingen. She was not a traditional royal daughter, but she was born into a noble German family. Her family was connected to the imperial court. She was given to the church as a tithe. She was placed in a Benedictine monastery. This was a common practice. It was for pious or extra daughters. Her problem was her extraordinary intellect. It was her profound spiritual visions. It was her incredible creativity. She wrote books on theology. She wrote books on natural science. She composed music. She corresponded with popes and emperors. She was a powerful voice. She challenged conventions. She was an abbess. She founded her own monastery. Her solution was intellectual pursuit. It was spiritual leadership. It was self-actualization within the church. She carved out a unique space. She became one of the most influential women of the Middle Ages. Her problem was her brilliance. Her solution was to embrace it fully. She transformed her confinement into a platform. She used her position to impact the world. Her story is one of profound agency. It is one of enduring legacy. Let's look at more recent history. The 20th century brought immense upheaval. Monarchies fell. Royal families faced new dangers. Grand Duchess Anastasia Nikolaevna of Russia. She was the youngest daughter of Tsar Nicholas II. We already discussed her sister Olga. Anastasia was known for her mischievous spirit. She was known for her playful nature. She was beloved by her family. Her problem was the Russian Revolution. It was the end of the Romanov dynasty. She shared the fate of her family. She was imprisoned. She was exiled. She was ultimately murdered. Her problem was her identity. It was her birthright. It was the political forces beyond her control. Her story is especially poignant. Rumors of her survival persisted for decades. This created a mystery. It created an enduring legend. The idea that a royal daughter might escape such a brutal fate. This captivated the world. Her problem became a riddle. Her solution was a lingering question mark. The enduring myth spoke to a human desire. It was for a happier ending. It was for a survivor. Her fate remains a symbol. It is a symbol of lost innocence. It is a symbol of imperial tragedy. Let's consider the daughters of Queen Elizabeth II. She has one daughter, Princess Anne, and is a working royal. She is known for her no-nonsense approach. She is known for her dedication. She is an Olympic equestrian. She is not a problem in the historical sense. But even in modern monarchies, challenges exist. Princess Anne's problem was perhaps public scrutiny. It was media attention. It was the weight of expectation. She navigated this with grace. She navigated this with duty. Her solution has been steadfast service. It has been a focus on her charitable work. It has been a life lived with purpose. She chose not to take royal titles for her children. This was a modern approach. It was a break from tradition. It was to allow them more normal lives. This was a different kind of solution. It was a solution for modern problem royal children. It was a subtle act of autonomy. Let's move to Japan. The imperial household of Japan has a long, unbroken lineage. It has strict traditions. Imperial daughters face unique pressures. They often lose their imperial status upon marriage. They marry commoners. Princess Mako of Aquitaine. She is the eldest daughter of Crown Prince Fumihito. She is the niece of Emperor Naruhito. She was beloved by the Japanese public. Her problem was her choice of husband. She chose to marry a commoner. This sparked controversy. Her fiancé, Kei Komuro, faced financial scandals. This caused immense public debate. This caused media scrutiny. Her decision was delayed for years. It caused her great stress. It caused her significant mental health issues. She gave up her imperial title. She forfeited a large dowry. She moved abroad. This was her solution. It was a personal choice. It was for love. It was for a private life. It was a rejection of imperial expectations. It was a modern problem. It was a very modern solution. It showed the continuing struggle. It showed the continuing constraints. Even in modern times, royal daughters face intense pressure. Their personal lives become public spectacle. Their choices carry national weight. Let's reflect on these diverse examples. The solutions to problem royal daughters are varied. They are often brutal. They are often subtle. They are always deeply personal. The underlying theme persists. Royal daughters are rarely seen as individuals first. They are seen as tools. They are seen as assets. They are seen as liabilities. Their worth is tied to alliances. It is tied to heirs. It is tied to political stability. Any deviation from this creates a fissure. It creates a challenge. It creates a problem. The women themselves rarely had a voice. Their stories are often told through male chroniclers. Their motivations are often speculated upon. Their inner lives are often obscured. But even in these gaps, we find profound humanity. We find incredible resilience. We find quiet defiance. The methods of control have evolved. from ancient father-daughter marriages, to medieval convents, to Roman exile, to modern media scrutiny, the goal remains similar. It is to maintain order. It is to maintain the dynastic line. It is to maintain patriarchal power structures. Yet, some women found agency. Some found purpose. Some found happiness. Even within these restrictive frameworks, Hatshepsut seized a throne. Eleanor of Aquitaine built an empire. Jahanara Begum wielded immense influence. Hildegard of Bingen created a spiritual legacy. These women were not just problems. They were forces. They were shapers of history. Their stories remind us. History is not a monolithic narrative. It is a complex tapestry. It is woven with countless threads. Many of these threads are female. Many of these threads are forgotten. But their absence diminishes our understanding. Their absence distorts the picture. By bringing these problem royal daughters into focus, we gain a richer perspective. We understand the true cost of power. We understand the enduring human struggle for autonomy. We understand the intricate dance of privilege and vulnerability. The paradox remains striking. They were born into the highest echelons of society. They enjoyed immense wealth. They enjoyed immense status. Yet, their lives were often less free. They were less fulfilling than those of commoners. Their gilded cages were still cages. Their royal titles were often burdens. The legacy of these women is powerful. It challenges our assumptions. It questions our narratives. It compels us to look deeper. It compels us to listen closer. It compels us to uncover the hidden stories. It compels us to find the silenced voices. This journey through history has illuminated a fascinating truth. The problem royal daughter is a recurring archetype. She is a symbol of defiance. She is a symbol of sacrifice. She is a symbol of resilience. She is central to the human story. She is central to the story of power. She is central to the story of change. The quest for a male heir often dictated their fates. The purity of the bloodline often sealed their destinies. The demands of diplomacy often shaped their lives. These were the forces at play. These were the relentless pressures. The modern world has changed. Monarchies are largely symbolic, but the legacy of these historical pressures endures. The scrutiny on royal women persists. The expectations of duty remain. The balance between public role and private life is still a challenge. Let us carry these stories forward. Let us remember the names. Let us remember the struggles. Let us remember the triumphs. Let us remember the quiet acts of resistance. Let us remember the tragic endings. Each life adds a layer of understanding. Each story enriches our collective memory. Thank you again for joining me. Our exploration of forgotten royal daughters reveals so much. It reveals the personal side of history. It reveals the often overlooked figures. It reveals the profound impact of individual lives. Keep exploring. Keep questioning. Keep digging for the hidden truths. Until next time. Goodbye. Tonight, we are not quite done with our journey. We have many more stories to uncover. We have many more corners of history to explore. Let's not turn up the lights just yet. Let's instead deepen our dive. Let's consider more layers of this complex tapestry. We have seen the fates of royal daughters. We have seen their struggles. We have seen their resilience. But what about the daughters who were deliberately hidden? What about those whose very existence was a state secret? These are often the most fascinating figures. They are often the most tragic. Let's journey to Imperial Russia again. Not the Romanovs, but an earlier dynasty. The Rurikids. This was a time of powerful boyars. It was a time of fierce succession struggles. The daughters of tsars and grand princes were often shielded. They were often kept from view. This was for their protection. It was also for political control. Consider Princess Xenia Borisovna. She was the daughter of Tsar Boris Godunov. He ruled during the time of troubles. This was a period of great instability. Xenia was known for her beauty. She was known for her piety. She was a valuable marriage prospect. She was meant to secure alliances. Her problem was her father's fall from power. Boris Godunov died suddenly. Her brother, Fyodor II, became Tsar, but he was quickly overthrown. The false Dmitry I seized the throne. This plunged Xenia into chaos. She was no longer a princess. She was a captive. She was a pawn. False Dmitri took her as his mistress. He then forced her into a convent. She became nun Olga. This was a common solution. It was a way to neutralize royal women. It was a way to remove them from dynastic claims. It also allowed them to live. It allowed them to survive. Her solution was forced spiritual life. It was a life of quiet endurance. She outlived many claimants. She outlived many tsars. She saw her family's name eventually restored. She lived a long life in seclusion. Her story is one of survival. It is one of adaptability. It is one of enduring tragedy. Let's think about daughters who were, through sheer circumstance, never destined for power. They were never destined for grand alliances. They were simply extra. These are often the most overlooked. They are often the most profoundly forgotten. Consider the daughters of King Philip II of Spain. He was one of the most powerful monarchs in Europe. He controlled a vast empire. He had many children. His male heir, Don Carlos, was notoriously unstable. His daughters, however, were bright. They were intelligent. They were well educated. Isabella Clara Eugenia was one of these daughters. She was her father's favorite. She was his confidant. She assisted him in state affairs. She was a gifted administrator. Her problem was her gender. She could not inherit the Spanish throne. The Salic law was not strictly applied, but strong tradition favored male succession. Her solution was a unique marriage. She married her cousin, Archduke Albert VII of Austria. They were co-sovereigns of the Spanish Netherlands. This was a significant role. It was a challenging one. She was a strong ruler. She was a successful diplomat. She brought a period of peace. She brought a period of prosperity. Her story shows an alternative path. It shows a powerful woman. She was not regent. She was not queen consort. She was a ruling monarch in her own right. This was a testament to her capabilities. It was a testament to her father's trust. It was a rare and successful outcome for a problem daughter. She carved out her own destiny. She left a lasting mark. Let's move to the Ottoman Empire again. The harem was a place of immense power. It was a place of intense intrigue. The Sultan's daughters lived there. They were known as sultanas. They held great status. They held great wealth. But their lives were also strictly defined. One such sultana was Merimna. She was the only daughter of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent. She was born to his beloved wife, Hurrem Sultan. Merimna was intelligent. She was ambitious. She was beautiful. She was also incredibly wealthy. She was a significant patron of architecture. Her problem was her mother's ambition. Hurrem Sultan was ruthless. She maneuvered for her sons. She maneuvered for her daughter. Merimna was married to Rustam Pasha. He was the Grand Vizier. This was a powerful political alliance. It further solidified her mother's influence. Merimna herself became very influential. She advised her father. She advised her husband. She exerted political power. She was a queen without a crown. Her solution was indirect power. It was influence from within the harem. It was skillful political maneuvering. She was a force to be reckoned with. She was a true power broker. Her existence further complicated dynastic politics. Her life was a testament to subtle power. It was a triumph of female agency. Let's consider royal daughters who were used as a balm. They were used to heal old wounds. They were used to bridge divides. They were used to prevent future conflicts. Their role was crucial. It was often overlooked. Consider Elizabeth Stuart. She was the daughter of King James VI of Scotland. He became King James I of England. She was a Protestant princess. She was married to Frederick V, Elector Palatine. This was a key Protestant ruler in Germany. It was a crucial alliance. It was meant to strengthen the Protestant cause. Her problem was the outbreak of the 30 Years' War. Frederick was chosen as King of Bohemia. This sparked a devastating conflict. Elizabeth became the Winter Queen. They were quickly defeated. They lost their lands. They lost their titles. They went into exile. Her solution was dignified endurance. It was resilience in adversity. She lived in exile in The Hague. She kept a small court. She maintained her royal connections. She became a symbol. She was a symbol of the Protestant cause. She was a symbol of lost sovereignty. Her story illustrates the fragility of power. It illustrates the profound impact of war. Her descendants eventually ascended to the British throne. Her lineage secured the future. A very unexpected outcome. A very long-term solution. Let's journey to East Asia again, to the Joseon dynasty of Korea. This was a Confucian society. It was deeply patriarchal. Royal daughters, princesses, lived highly restricted lives. They were married off for political purposes. They were expected to be virtuous. They were expected to be subservient. One such princess was Princess Jeongmyeon. She was the daughter of King Seonjo. She was born to a favored consort. Her problem was the intense court intrigue. It was the factional struggles. After her father's death, her half-brother Gwanghegin became king. He was a controversial ruler. He was ruthless. Gwanghegin removed Jeongmyeon from the royal palace. He demoted her to commoner status. He put her under house arrest. This was a harsh solution. It was a way to neutralize rivals. It was a way to consolidate power. She spent many years in confinement. Her life was in constant danger. Her solution was survival. It was quiet endurance. Gwanghegin was eventually overthrown. Her younger brother, King Injo, ascended the throne. She was restored to her status. She lived a long life. She had a happy marriage. She raised many children. Her story shows the triumph of resilience. It shows the unpredictable turns of history. It shows how fortunes could change. Let's think about daughters who were not just problems, but catalysts. They actively shaped events. They were not merely acted upon. Consider Catherine de' Medici. She was not born a royal daughter. She was born into the powerful Medici banking family. But she married into royalty. She married Henry II of France. She became Queen of France. She was the mother of 3 French kings. Her problem was the early death of her husband. She became a powerful widow. She became a mother to young kings. France was plunged into religious wars. She was a foreign queen. She was a Catholic. She faced intense opposition. She needed to secure the Valois dynasty. She needed to maintain peace. Her solution was ruthless pragmatism. It was political cunning. She ruled through her sons. She played factions against each other. She arranged strategic marriages. She engaged in political assassinations. She ordered the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre. This was a horrific act. It cemented her reputation. She was a problem in the sense that she was a woman. She was wielding immense power. She was breaking societal norms. Her methods were brutal. Her legacy is controversial. But she secured the dynasty. She maintained the monarchy. She shaped French history profoundly. She was a truly formidable woman. Her solution was absolute power. It was brutal effectiveness. Let's consider daughters whose problems were physical. Their health made them unsuitable for marriage. Their bodies defied expectations. These women often faced immense pressure. They faced profound disappointment. Consider Anne Neville. She was the daughter of the kingmaker, Richard Neville, Earl of Warwick. She was born into one of England's most powerful families. She was a central figure in the Wars of the Roses. Her destiny was marriage. Her destiny was political alliance. Her problem was fragile health. She was often sickly. She was also a pawn in a brutal power struggle. She was married to Edward of Westminster. He was the son of King Henry VI. He was the Lancastrian heir. This was a desperate attempt to shore up the Lancastrian cause. He died in battle. She was then married to Richard, Duke of Gloucester. He later became King Richard III. She became Queen of England. Her health worsened. She was unable to produce another heir for Richard. This was a huge dynastic problem. Richard needed a legitimate son, and was fading. She was dying. Her problem was a failing body. It was her inability to fulfill her queenly duty. Her solution was tragic death. She died in 1485. Her death cleared the way for Richard to potentially remarry. It cleared the way for a new queen. It cleared the way for a new heir. Her passing was convenient. It was also very sad. Her life was short. It was marked by constant upheaval. It was marked by ill health. A very personal, very tragic solution. Let's now consider a different kind of problem. What about daughters who were simply too intelligent, too opinionated, too well-read for their time? They challenged norms. They challenged expectations. Consider Christina, Queen of Sweden. She was the daughter of King Gustavus Adolphus. He was the Lion of the North. He died in battle. Christina became queen at a young age. She was highly intelligent. She was highly educated. She was also fiercely independent. She was an intellectual. She was a patron of the arts. She loved philosophy. Her problem was her aversion to marriage. She refused to marry. She refused to produce an heir. This was a monumental problem. The Swedish monarchy needed a succession. She also developed a reputation. She was eccentric. She was unconventional. She dressed in men's clothes. She was very different. Her solution was abdication. She gave up her throne. She converted to Catholicism. This was a shocking act. Sweden was a fiercely Protestant nation. She moved to Rome. She lived a life of intellectual pursuit. She lived a life of artistic patronage. She pursued her own passions. Her story is one of radical autonomy. It is one of personal freedom. She was a royal daughter who rejected her predetermined role. She chose her own path. She paid a price for it. She lost her kingdom, but she gained her freedom. Her problem was her unique spirit. Her solution was radical self-determination. A truly exceptional figure. A truly revolutionary choice. Let's delve into more subtle solutions. Not all royal daughters were imprisoned or killed. Many were simply rendered irrelevant. Their stories quietly disappeared. Consider the lesser-known daughters of Emperor Franz Joseph I of Austria-Hungary. He ruled a vast empire. He had many children. His most famous daughter was Empress Elizabeth of Austria. But he had other daughters. They lived quiet lives. Gisela Louise Marie was his second daughter. She was married to Prince Leopold of Bavaria. This was a strategic match. It was for dynastic stability. She lived a conventional royal life. She had children. She performed her duties. Her problem was her lack of prominence. She was not famous. She was not scandalous. She was not a political force. Her solution was quiet conformity. It was a life of dutiful service. She lived largely outside the public eye. She was eclipsed by her more famous sister. She was eclipsed by her powerful father. Her existence was peaceful. It was relatively uneventful. Her story highlights the fact. Many royal daughters were simply ordinary. Their lives were not dramatic. They were not tragic. They were simply lived. Their lack of a problem made them forgotten. It made them unremarkable to history. Let's consider daughters who were used for propaganda. Their image was crafted. It was manipulated. It was used to serve the state. Their true selves were often lost. Consider Princess Victoria of Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld. She became Queen Victoria. But before that, she was a young princess. Her mother, the Duchess of Kent, tried to control her. She tried to isolate her. This was known as the Kensington system. It was meant to make Victoria dependent. It was meant to make her pliable. Her problem was her youth. It was her vulnerability. It was her powerful guardians. But she was also an image. She was a symbol of hope. She was a symbol of purity. She was a counterpoint to the excesses of her uncles. The public adored her. Her solution was to escape the Kensington system. It was to assert her independence upon ascending the throne. She became a powerful symbol. She became a strong ruler. She defined an era. Her early life as a problem princess shaped her. It made her determined. It made her resilient. She transformed her image. She transformed her kingdom. Let's now consider royal daughters in the modern era. The issues have changed, but the pressures persist. Princess Diana, Princess of Wales. She was not born a royal daughter. She married Prince Charles. She entered the heart of the British monarchy. Her problem was her immense popularity. It was her strong will. It was her desire to connect with ordinary people. It was her unconventional approach. Her marriage was unhappy. Her public life was under intense scrutiny. She struggled with the rigid protocols. She struggled with the expectations. She became a problem for the institution. She was too charismatic. She was too independent. She was too relatable. Her solution was to carve out her own path. It was to focus on humanitarian work. It was to use her platform for good. She spoke out. She advocated for causes. She connected with the public. Her eventual separation and divorce were also a solution. It was a separation from the constraints. It was a separation from the unhappiness. Her tragic death was a global event. It was a testament to her impact. Her problem was her humanity. It was her desire for authenticity. Her story highlights the ongoing tension. It highlights the tension between individuals and institutions. It highlights the tension between tradition and modernity. A very public problem. A very public, tragic end. Let's reflect on this continuation. We have seen a spectrum of experiences. We have seen daughters hidden away. We have seen daughters ruling empires. We have seen daughters enduring tragedy. We have seen daughters choosing their own path. The consistent thread is the idea of the problem. This problem is defined by the dynastic needs. It is defined by political stability. It is defined by societal norms. The daughter's personal desires are secondary. Her personal well-being is often sacrificed. The solutions are as diverse as the cultures themselves, from forced conversions to abdications, from quiet conformity to public rebellion. Each solution reflects the power dynamics of its time. Each solution reflects the constraints placed on women. The historical record often silences these women. It obscures their motivations. It minimizes their impact. But by seeking out these forgotten figures, we enrich our understanding of the past. We bring a human face to grand narratives. We illuminate the complex interplay of gender, power, and fate. The problem royal daughter is a powerful archetype. She embodies struggle. She embodies resilience. She embodies the enduring human quest for self-determination. Her story is vital. Her story is essential. Her story adds depth and nuance to history. So, as our extended journey comes to a close, let us remember these women. Let us honor their struggles. Let us learn from their lives. They were not just problems. They were people. They were powerful. They were fragile. They were unforgettable. Thank you once more for exploring these hidden histories with me. It has been a privilege to share these stories. I hope they resonate with you. I hope they inspire you to look deeper. Until our next historical adventure, stay curious. Keep questioning. Keep seeking the truth. Goodbye for now.